Siaran langsung ini dibawakan khas kepada anda oleh Akademi YouTuber Malaysia. Tumpukan perhatian anda, siaran langsung akan bermula sebentar lagi. Link sijil akan diberikan di hujung siaran ini. Pastikan diisi dalam tempoh yang ditetapkan. Terima kasih.
Hello everyone.
Hai. Okey, jadi dah jam 9.31. Hai semua. Selamat sejahtera. Selamat datang ke kelas tuisyen live percuma Panitia Biologi, Akademi YouTuber Usaha Sama E-Didik Malaysia dan Kelab Guru Malaysia. Bermulanya percuma, selamanya percuma. So apa khabar murid-murid semua? Boleh tulis siapa yang ada, boleh tulis nama, perkenalkan dari sekolah mana. Jadi cikgu harap semua bersedia, bersedia untuk kita ada topik yang sangat menarik malam ni. Untuk persediaan kita untuk SPM pada 30 hari bulan nanti. 31. Untuk biologi, kita mula dengan fizik, lepas tu biologi dan kemudian kimia. So hari ni kita nak dapat teknik yang sangat menarik daripada cikgu kita, Cikgu Chong. Jadi sebelum tu saya perkenalkan diri saya Cikgu Nur Ilani, moderator anda pada malam ini. Jadi kita bersiaran langsung dari channel Cikgu Pak Yi Chong dari SMJK If Maria Convent Ipoh. Itu dia Cikgu Chong. Selaku presenter kita pada malam ni, tajuk kita tajuk panas pada malam ni iaitu Teknik Menjawab Ujian Amali Sains Bersepadu. Jadi kelas ini akan berlangsung selama 1 jam. So 1 jam saja beri fokus yang betul-betul padu. So dapatkan teknik, jangan lupa pen, nota. So catat yang penting-penting. Selain itu, kita akan mari berkenalan dengan guru-guru lain yang berada di konti. Kita ada Cikgu Teacher Narin. Cikgu Narin.
Hai.
Cikgu Narin. Selaku pemerhati, dan juga orang kuat belakang tabir iaitu Cikgu Chan selaku control host.
Hai anak-anak semua.
Jadi sebelum saya pun tak sabar nak dengar tips-tips daripada Cikgu Chong. Jadi sebelum tu kita mulakan dengan baca doa dulu untuk yang Muslim pada yang non-Muslim. So bertafakur untuk minta supaya awak diterangkan hati, diberi kefahaman, dikembalikan ingatan bila awak memerlukan untuk jawab peperiksaan nanti. Jadi apa persediaan kita malam ni? Cikgu Na ada bersama dengan awak, ada pen, ada untuk jot down nota penting daripada Cikgu Chong. Lepas tu cikgu nak awak aktif, tak faham, ada persebarang persoalan. Jangan segan silu, tanya di ruangan komen. Boleh tanya banyak-banyak dengan Cikgu Chong. Kami semua yang ada di konti akan bersama-samalah untuk meleraikan. Mungkin ada kekusutan, tak pandai buat definisi operasi, apa-apa sahaja lepas ni boleh tanya. Jadi cikgu nak awak aktif. Boleh tanya sebarang soalan, komen. Jadi link penyertaan akan diberikan di penghujung kelas. Link akan tamat dalam masa setengah jam selepas kelas selesai. Jadi boleh isi sebelum 11 malam. Jadi tanpa melengahkan masa, cikgu akan serahkan sesi live kita kepada presenter kita iaitu Cikgu Chong. Silakan Cikgu Chong.
Halo semua, selamat malam. So saya perkenalkan sebenarnya sudah diperkenalkan oleh Cikgu Ilani ya. So ini Cikgu Ilani ya, kita Biologi Teacher Squad BTS. Ini Cikgu Narin selaku pemerhati, ini ialah Cikgu Chan dan saya Cikgu Chong. So kami berempat yang akan menjalankan kelas pada malam ini, dan disebabkan murid semua akan menghadapi ujian amali sains pada 30 hari bulan 31 saya 31 hari bulan. So jadi terpaksalah saya buat kelas ini. Sebenarnya minggu depan mungkin ada murid yang tanya, ada terlalu awal nak buat ya? Sebenarnya minggu depan sudah cuti ya, cuti tahun baru Cina. Jadi mungkin ramai yang nak berehat ya. So I have forced to do the class today. So I hope that I can give you pointers lah that you can retain and you can remember, so that you after this you can buatlah soalan-soalan dan cuba menjawab soalan. Okay, so kita mula dengan dari awal ya. So if we compare with last year's exam, okay, untuk murid-murid yang tahun ini Form 5 ya, untuk senior yang tahun lepas Form 5, ujian amali bersepadu adalah bercampur, maksudnya bio, physics, chemistry, okay. But for this year, we have already separated. The government has separated, so it's on 3 different days. Last year, 3 papers pada hari yang sama. Okay, so untuk ini, okay, 45 minit sahaja untuk satu sesi, okay, satu hari untuk satu mata pelajaran. So biology is 45 minutes, physics will be 1 day before, chemistry will be 2 days after, which is on the 2nd, I think the 2nd of February. Okay, now, so every sub question, setiap soalan ada pecahan-pecahan ya. Mungkin akan ada 1, 2, 3 atau 4 soalan. Dan jumlah markah, the total marks is 15 marks. Okay, so saya cuba jalankan kelas malam ini dengan Dwibahasa lah, sebab saya tahu di kalangan murid ya di sini ada yang mengambil biologi dalam DLP, okay, dual language program. Ada yang mengambil biologi dan bahasa Melayu. So I try to cater to both of you. Okay, so if I explain in English, sometimes the words already are in BM and vice versa. Okay, so setiap soalan ada sampai maksimum 4 markah. So anda mesti tahu bagaimana nak menjawabnya. Okay, so the planning is 5 minutes. Okay, for the planning, that means you are supposed to check your radars. I think you all know this already lah. Okay, the teachers in school have already mentioned to you. So 5 minit pertama anda tidak boleh mulakan eksperimen. Dan lepas planning 5 minit itu anda boleh mulalah menjawab. Menjawab bermaksud ya, membuat eksperimen dan juga menulis jawapan. Jadi you have to plan out so that you do not use the entire 40 minutes for your experiment. Because no matter how well you do the experiment, if your answers are not on the paper, you will get 0. Okay, because remember, your experiment is not taken into account. How well you carry out the experiment, nobody is there to give you marks. Okay, you are there to do the experiment so that you can get the data, and the data is used for you to write your answers. So that means you must have enough time to write your answers. All right, so I do not want to see students who from the beginning until the end, 30 minutes, 35 minutes, they will redo the experiment, buat semula sebab tak puas hati. Okay, sampai akhirnya tinggal lagi 5 minit, 10 minit baru nak menjawab. Lepas itu sudah kelam kabut. Alright, okay, so plan it well. Your experiment should not take more than 25 minutes. The rest of the time, you have to make sure you write carefully the answer, calculation, and draw the graph if needed. Okay, so let's try to find out what are the questions they can ask you. Apakah kemahiran proses sains yang akan ditaksir? What will they be testing you in your amali paper? So in all, there will be 11 skills. Okay, 11 skills. And of course, your paper is only 15 marks. And your pecahan bahagian-bahagian, dia tak akan sampai banyak. Okay, because of the limited, this paper has been scaled down. Limited. We will not be asking all the 11. So depends on your luck. Alright, depends on your luck. This year, you will get what type. But you will have at least a few of this. So let's look at what are the skills. Now, firstly, stating the procedure. So this paper, sometimes, you see, certain years, that's what they told us when they started this paper, ujian amali sains. Mereka kata ada mungkin kalau 1 tahun dia fizik yang perlu tulis procedure, maka biologi dan chemistry tak perlu tulis procedure. Maksudnya, dalam tahun itu ada 1 tahun yang perlu tulis procedure. Okay? Tapi, tahun lepas, biologi tak perlu tulis procedure. Okay? Kita diberi procedure untuk menjalankan eksperimen, iaitu vitamin C, okay, menggunakan buah tomato dan juga lime, okay, atau buah limau. Okay, so state procedure is what you must prepare yourself. Anda mesti menyediakan diri untuk tahu menulis prosedur jika diperlukan. Okay, next one, constructing a table, membuat jadual. Okay, so you are asked to construct a table with the MV, RV and the calculation. Okay, lepas itu membuat pemerhatian. Contohnya soalan, what is the observation? Making observation and stating observation. Okay, next, from the observation, you may be asked to make a inference. They are closely related. From the observation, then you have the inference. Okay, mana-mana 11 daripada ini boleh keluar ya. Listing the variables, what is your MV, RV and your CV. Okay, pemboleh ubah yang dimanipulasikan, pemboleh ubah yang bergerak balas dan pemboleh ubah yang dimalarkan. Okay, then you have making hypothesis. What is the hypothesis for this question, for this experiment? Next, you are maybe asked to draw a graph based on your table that you have constructed. Then you have to state the relationship based on the graph. You may be asked to make a statement to explain the relationship between your MV and your RV based on your graph. That means you must base your answer on the graph. If look carefully, if the question asks you based on the graph or based on the data given, you have to refer to the data. You cannot write anything that is based on theory. Okay, right? Okay, later we look at the examples. Okay, defining operationally. Now this one was, ini ialah soalan mendefinisikan secara operasi, ialah soalan yang dulu daripada format yang lama. Okay, tahun lepas tak ada keluar lagi, defining operationally, tetapi ini adalah skill ataupun kemahiran yang boleh keluar. Okay, jadi better, lebih baik saya ajar semualah, sebab kita tak tahu apakah pilihan-pilihan yang akan keluar dalam kertas soalan nanti. Okay, so saya akan ajar semua. Okay, lepas itu predicting. Okay, ini sangat popular, hampir-hampir setiap tahun lepas ada. Okay, membuat ramalan apa akan jadi jika soalan tu dia kata tulis, they'll change one factor. Maybe temperature increase or temperature decrease. Okay, or you cut up the thing into smaller pieces. Predict what happens to the data. Okay, so ini adalah 11. These are the 11 skills that can be asked. Okay, so I do not know which one will come out this year. All right. Okay, and one more. Sorry, classifying between all the things that are given to you. They give you a list. You classify ataupun mengelaskan bahan-bahan ataupun radas ataupun kumpulan-kumpulan bahan ke dalam 2 kumpulan atau 3 kumpulan yang berbeza. Okay, so let's look at sample question. Okay, this is a sample question. This is very simple, using the spinach stem, all right, and you cut into quarters longitudinally, and then you put into different solution. So this is one soalan yang tidak ada prosedur, nampak tak? Okay, rancangkan eksperimen dengan menggunakan radas dan bahan yang diberikan. So prosedur anda hendak mengandungi, you have to write your method to handle variables and precautionary steps. So you see this one has 4 marks. Usually your precautionary steps, this procedure will have 4 marks. Okay, so here is what you need to do. Plan your experiment and then you write your procedure. Okay, next part of the question. Now state your observation. Okay, so you see the component of skills here. This is the one that came out for this paper. And then explain your observation means you have to write the inference. Okay, observation and then inference. All right, next. Then you draw your observation. This is your result table. So it could be, this is a qualitative data. That means there's no numbers, there's no values. You just draw or maybe observe the color change. Okay, you don't have values for here. So experiment, there are 2 types. So one experiment with data, quantitative. The other one is qualitative. No data, no number, nothing to measure. You just record what you see. Okay, and the shape. In this case, how your spinach stem should curve. Inwards, outwards, or remain straight. Okay, okay, now classify. So this question is classifying, okay, the solution into their types. So you should know this one is the isotonic or hypertonic or hypotonic lah. Okay, and this is a prediction. Okay, they give you a scenario. So this is a vegetable fertilizer. All right, housewife mix this amount of fertilizer with 500 ml water to fertilize predict what will happen. So this is a prediction question. Okay, so you can see out of the 11, only about 6 or 7 came out because of the limited number amount of marks. You only have 15. Previously for paper 3, the written experiment, there were 33 marks. So there was enough time to ask, enough questions to ask all the 11. So they're tested on all the 11. So for you, you will be tested on your manipulative skill and also only a small half of those skills that you need to write. Okay? Right. So this prediction, and prediction must be followed by explanation. Why is a prediction like this? Okay, kenapa ramalan anda begitu? Apakah data, apakah sebab-sebab yang menyokong, okay, your prediction? Okay, now let's see. Let's start with the first one. Writing procedure. What do you need to?
Kak, ada soalan. Yap Richie ni tanya, what should I do when I found that length of my spinach stem or potato are different compare with the question state? Okay, dia angkat tangan lah. Maksudnya dia kata berbeza dia punya panjang tu daripada soalan yang dinyatakan. So,
saya rasa panjang tu kita boleh olah sendiri kan. Sebagai seorang, you akan dibekalkan bahan. Lepas itu, you will be asked to cut according to your length that is given in your procedure. So it's actually up to you. Okay? If you found that, let's say, for example, your spinach stem, you are given 4 cm only. And your experiment there in the data is written 5 cm. Okay, you can put up your hands. You can tell that's why you check lah. That's why you check your bahan-bahan. Alright, you check your alat rajas. So especially, you find that you are asked to prepare your spinach or whatever stem is supposed to be 5 cm. And then you're only given such a short portion. You can alert your lab assistant or alert your ketua pengawas. And if she needs help or she needs somebody to supply it to you, she will call the lab assistant. Okay, so that's why you are very important for you to check your radas. Okay, so whether if you cut it too short by accident, then it's your fault, right? But you can also ask to replace it if there is enough bahan. So of course you try not to come to that situation, right? You should not be making mistakes. So cut carefully, because in case they don't have enough for you, then of course you can't help it anymore. So you try to make sure you do carefully, right? If you found anything is not right, your bahan is not right, you have the right to ask for it, okay, or change it. Alright, ada apa lagi? It happened on many students on trial that day. That is the fault of the school that maybe supplied you with the different length. Then you can ask before you start the experiment. Okay, so it's not your fault. It's not your fault. Your fault is if you cut too short. That is when you cut it for too short, then you find that your own fault, depending on the school want to give you another one or not. Okay, so it's not your right. The school, whether enough bahan they give you, not enough bahan, so sorry. Alright, it's your own fault. You cut it too short. Okay, so saya boleh ya?
Macam saya dengar macam kimia tu kan, kalau murid salah campur, kalau tak betul-betul biasa dia tak boleh bagi ekstra macam tu lah. Tapi saya rasa maybe bergantung pada sekolah lah. Tapi dia dipesan jangan buat salah lah sebab takut tak diberi.
Ya,
tak cukup.
Dan juga bergantung kepada ketua pengawas lah. Sebab sekarang perjalanan eksperimen adalah di bawah kawalan ketua pengawas. Okay, so depending on her or him also. So if you want to give you, okay, give you. If don't want to give you, maybe because of certain kekangan, alright, maybe she's got special instructions not to give extra, okay, from the whatever lembaga, whatever, so you can't help it lah. So you have to be careful lah, alright. But if the bahan dibekalkan sebelum anda mula sudah salah, then you have the right to ask for it. Okay, let's look at writing procedure. Writing procedure is the one that they just ask you method to handle the pemboleh ubah and also the langkah berjaga-jaga. Okay, you must have these 4 things. Manipulated variable must be stated inside your procedure. Okay, responding variable and also constant variable. Ini 3 pemboleh ubah sangat-sangat penting, very important. That's why you need to know. As a science student, this is the first thing you learn and you come to Form 1. Okay, what is MV, what is RV, what is CV. In fact, you also learn it in primary school. Okay, if I'm not mistaken, in primary school science, you already started learning this. And also, you have to include 1 precautionary step. Sekurang-kurangnya 1. Lebih tak apa. Okay, so let's look at an example. Example question. Okay, So this is an experiment to investigate the effect of enzyme concentration on the activity of amylase enzyme on the activity of breakdown of starch, hydrolysis of starch. Okay, so you should immerse the campuran between the amylase and the starch in water bath, and then the difference here is the enzyme concentration. You're given different concentration. Okay, so 0.1, maybe 0.2, 0.3, and then you see how long it takes for the iodine to remain yellow. Because once it turns yellow, that means your hydrolysis is already completed. Okay, so plan your experiment. Okay, so here you always get this method to handle the variables and also precautionary step, 4 marks. So how do you need to write? Okay, so here is what you should write. Okay, you must have your MV. Your MV means make it at least 4 MVs. 4 or 5 would be best. Okay, and then 3 to 4 to 5 lah. So you have your 1.0 percentage, 1.5% and 2.0%. Okay, so you see what is given to you. Look at your radars. If you give it 1.0, you use 1.0, 1.5, 1% and so on. Okay, so what about this question I always get from students? Nak tulis dalam ayat aktif ke nak dalam tulis ayat pasif? Okay, sebenarnya ikut pengalaman saya, itu tidak penting. Yang penting maksudnya mesti clear. Okay, active voice, passive voice, you're not going to be penalized. Okay, for writing in active voice, you ask the person to do it, or you report what you have done. Like for example, put 2 ml of amylase enzyme. This is active voice. This is not passive. If it's passive voice, it would be 2 ml of amylase enzyme solution was with concentration of 1.0 blah 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 was put in each test tube label A, B, and C. So it's not important. All right, what is important is your bahan. Is your inti party, your content. Okay, the rubric here is 3 marks for method, 1 mark for precautionary step. Okay, MV 1 mark, RV 1 mark, and CV 1 mark. Okay, precautionary step also 1 mark. Okay, let's see. Where are your MVs? Your MVs are all in blue here. Okay, you must mention the concentration which you change. You must mention your change. And then you see repeat step 3 to 6 for test tube B and C. That means you are using, first time you do the experiment, you 1.0. The second time you change to 1.5. The third time you change to 2.0. So that is your MV. Okay, so depending on what is given to you, you have 3 MV. Okay, you write the 3 MVs with the values. That is your MV. Okay, then you need to write in your RV. RV is how are you going to measure your result? What are you going to see? What are you going to measure? So here, record the time taken. Important for you to write the word record. Okay, record the time taken for the iodine solution to remain yellow. This is the RV. Okay, this is what you're going to see. But do not forget to say using the device, using a stopwatch. If you are measuring length, you use ruler. If you are measuring mass, you use a weighing scale or electronic balance if it's very light. Okay. If you are measuring what else is there to measure? Mass with the electronic balance. Okay. So remember, you need to use the device. Okay. Mention. And constant variable. So constant variable are all the things that you do again, the second time, third time, you still use the same thing. For example, your 2 ml of amylase enzyme, okay, your 37 degrees temperature, the water bath is 37, is going to be constant. Then 2 ml 1% starch, ini ialah kepekatan, kepekatan kanji, okay, larutan kanji. And also the time taken for you to repeat the iodine test every 1 minute. So these are all the factors which are constant. So you need at least 1, or not at least 1, minimum 1, just 1 will do. MV, RV, and CV. Precautionary step, minimum 1. So where's the precautionary step here? Okay, mungkin saya tanya student lah. Bolehkah anda kenal pasti di manakah precautionary step di sini?
Okay, yes, boleh cuba. Okay, langkah berjaga-jaga.
Yes, where is the precautionary step here? Anyone? Sudah jawapan? Belum.
Okay, ada tak?
Tak ada. Okay, tak ada, saya bagi jawapan lah. Tak nak buang masa ya. Okay, so you have this, stir the mixture. Alright. And then immediately, it's important for you to say immediately, especially for the, you know, the energy value.
Richie ada jawab, dia kata bilas.
Bilas. Yes. You want to, if you're using the same dropper, you have to make sure you wash the dropper to avoid contamination, supaya tidak mencemarkan bahan. Okay, start the stopwatch immediately. Yes. Okay, start the stopwatch immediately. Yes. Drop it immediately. Yes. All this is precautionary step. Okay, clean dropper. The clean dropper means you washed it so that you do not contaminate with different items. Okay, so you should at least have one precautionary step. Okay, next one, constructing the table. So after you've done the experiment, you got to construct your own table. Okay, so construct the table, make sure you put all the titles that are given to you, that whatever, construct a table using the following, you must include, sometimes the question asks you, construct a table using the following, whatever titles are. So include all the titles, okay, following, using the data. Do not forget to write the correct unit, very important, must have unit. Do not write your values in fractions. Okay, you can have it as a part of your calculation, but your final answer must in decimal. Why? You can tell me why. Anda tidak digalakkan menulis jawapan dalam calculation tu yang RV itulah, akhir itulah, selepas pengiraan. Anda tidak digalakkan membuat jawapan dalam bentuk fraction ataupun pecahan. Kenapa? Agak ni kenapa? Budak-budak semua. Kenapa anda tidak digalakkan buat fraction? Nyatakan jawapan dalam bentuk pecahan. Okay, no answer. Okay, tak
ada
apa.
tak? Okay, kalau dalam fizik pun tak boleh bagi dalam pecahan. Biasa kita ambil
tak boleh kan? Yes,
okay, ada.
Sebab ada
jawapan.
Mungkin tak tepat. Sebenarnya fraction lagi tepat, bukan? Fraction ia 1/3 dia memang tepat. Tapi kalau you nak tukar kepada decimal, dia 0.33333, itu lagi tak tepat kan? 0.333, because there are certain numbers when you divide it, you cannot habis divide. Tak akan macam divide tepat-tepat. So sebenarnya fraction lebih tepat. Tapi masalahnya kenapa kita nak tulis fraction? Sebab mungkin kita nak plot data, nak plot graph. Kalau nak plot graph, macam mana you nak plot graph pada skala menggunakan pecahan? Dia mesti ada 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, bukan? So jawapan yang tak tepat tu sebenarnya tak betul lah. Bukan tak tepat, sebenarnya sebaliknya. Lebih tepat ialah dalam pecahan. Because when you do your calculation, you do your add math, isn't it? When you generate your answer, if this is not the final answer, you leave it in fraction first. Later on, you put in your formula the last answer, then only you round it up, whatever. You don't round up before that and then again and again. So sebenarnya pecahan itu supaya kita boleh senang plotkan data, plotkan graph. If you don't have your data in decimals, kamu tidak boleh plotkan graph. Betul tak? Betul tak cikgu fizik? Cikgu Ilani cikgu fizik tau.
Tapi kalau dalam fizik memang kena tak boleh bagi dalam pecahan lah. Tapi betul lah untuk memplot, memang macam mana nak plot dalam pecahan?
Tak boleh plot. Yes. Okay. So and also anda mesti maintain consistent number of decimal places for the data. Bilangan tempat perpuluhan mesti tepat, mesti sama untuk satu the same type of data. So kalau jawapan calculation semua tu mesti ada dalam 2 tempat perpuluhan atau 3, semua mesti sama. Tak boleh satu lebih satu kurang. Okay? And then you must calculate using the formula given lah. Kalau formula diberi lah. Saya rasa tak pernah jumpa lagi lah soalan yang macam tak ada formula diberi lah. Okay? So you, tapi sebagai standby lah, cuba ingat formula juga lah ya. Okay? Okay, now let's look at, lagi mesti ada title, data and calculation. So your table actually 3 marks. Okay, 3 markah. So example of result table. Okay, katakan inilah yang tadi soalan tentang enzyme tu ya. So time taken you got 80 minutes, then 12 minutes and then 10 minutes. Lepas itu anda buatlah rate of enzyme reaction, which you divide 1 over the time taken. 1 over time taken, the unit is per minute. Okay, so you have your MV, ORV and also RV. ORV ialah operating responding variable. Ini ialah responding variable yang anda betul-betul observe dan sukat dan measure. This is what you actually obtain in your experiment. The time taken is what you actually measure. But then when what you really want to find out is the rate of reaction, because the time taken will indicate the rate of enzyme reaction. Okay, so that's why the time taken is your ORV, but ultimately what you want to generate is actually the rate of enzyme reaction. So that is your RV. Okay, so all titles with correct units. Jangan lupa unit. Ini selalu cakap berkali-kali, budak pun mesti lupa nak tulis punya. Okay, they so happy they got the three columns title, they always forget to write the unit. Okay, correct values, the values that you get 1.0, 1.5, 2.0 and so on from given in your experiment. And then of course your time that you measured lah. And the third one here is the correct calculation in case you're asked to calculate and generate your data. Okay, and then you see 1/18. You cannot leave it as it is. You have to change into decimal. And all consistent number of decimal places. If 3, then all the 3 data must be 3. Okay, so you cannot put 0.1 here. You must put 0.100 to match the first 2 data which has 3 decimal places. Okay, clear? Right. Observation. Now how do you write observation? Okay, this one is also a big problem for students. They say observation, they just say this one is higher than that one. Okay, this one is more than that one. Or this is not a very quantitative data, right? If you can observation, you try to give values. Okay, you must have the following things in your observation. You must mention what is your MV. Okay, what is the MV, and then what is the RV, and also the value with the correct unit. Okay, example lah, right? I think macam ni tak faham sangat kan? Kalau tengok jawapan lebih senang ya. Okay, kalau macam ini ialah data yang anda dapat. Lepas itu dia minta anda buat satu observation. Nyatakan pemerhatian. Okay, so your observation must have this. Okay, in your sentence observation you must talk about what is the enzyme concentration that you use and what is the time taken, and must have value and must have unit. Okay, so this is the one in red is your RV. So anda ambillah mana-mana satu data dari situ. You take any one of them. You take 1.0 also can, you take 1.5 also can, any one. So example, here, you take 1.0 and then you take the 118 over there, you make a sentence. Buat satu ayat. Okay, so when 1.0 enzyme concentration is used, comma, the time taken for the iodine to remain yellow is 18 minutes. Okay, simple as that. Right, the blue is your MV, the red is your RV, and the 18 minutes is your data, the value plus the unit. Okay, you buat satu ayat yang lengkap. Ada MV, ada RV dengan unit sekali. Okay, clear? Right, so observation sebenarnya ada dua lah ya. Tadi kita nampak ada nombor-nombor, itu dipanggil quantitative data. Data yang ada values. Tapi kadang-kadang ada eksperimen yang tak ada data. Anda tengok perubahan warna. Okay, you see the shape of the stem, of the spinach stem, it curves inwards or outwards and so on. So this one is called qualitative lah, data, no values. Example, this kind of experiment yang menggunakan whisking tubing. Okay, ini pun boleh keluar sebab dia boleh habis dalam masa 40 minit. Okay, so you have your starch, you have your glucose here immersed inside there for let's say 10 15 minutes and so on, or about 10 minutes at least, 15 minutes. Then you write the data, you test the solution inside and outside. So the sample of solution, this is your MV. Okay, you're testing what you put inside. You're testing the starch and the glucose. Your starch and glucose are your MVs, the size of the molecule. Okay, as you know, the size of the starch is big, the size of the starch is small. And then for here is your RV. So in your table, you must have MV, RV. No matter is quantitative atau qualitative. Mesti ada MV dan RV. Kalau tak ada, something is wrong. Dan dalam table mesti tak ada CV. Jangan letak CV di dalam observation table. Okay, tak ada. Don't have CV. CV is your constant variable. Okay, now calculation. Alright, so this is your calculation. Then in your table again, you must have the table. So here will be 1 mark. then your data is another mark, then your calculation will be another mark. Okay, so jangan bimbang calculation anda tepat atau tak tepat. They will usually, last time we will give you the benefit. If your number here, all right, is already wrong, of course we will penalize here. But then if you actually use the wrong data and you do the correct calculation, we can give you correct over here. Okay, so we will not penalize you twice. So the principle we use is no double penalty. Okay, we do not penalize you again and again. One time salah, you salah sini. So here, because you use 18, even though 18 is a wrong figure, let's say, you still get it correct. Okay, don't worry about that. Okay, inference. Now you got the observation. So what's inference? What's the meaning of inference? Inference is actually asking you to explain what is the reason for this observation. Why do you get this observation? Okay, kenapa you akan dapat pemerhatian begini? Alright, so let's see example. Let's say for the observation just now, when 1.0 enzyme concentration is used, the time taken for iodine to remain yellow is 80 minutes. Okay, this is your observation. So how are you going to generate your inference from here? Inference is ask yourself, why when you use 1% enzyme concentration, the time taken for the iodine to remain yellow is 80 minutes, so long, okay? Alright, why? When you use 1.0, why the time is so long? The reason is because your 1.0 is low enzyme concentration, okay, compared to your 1.5 and 2.0. So this is considered as low enzyme. And then your RV is the time taken for iodine to remain yellow, actually is indicative of the rate of enzymatic reaction. Because if it takes a long time for the iodine to remain yellow, that means the rate of enzyme reaction is slow. Okay, it takes a long time for your amylase to break down, okay, to digest the starch. Jadi kadar adalah rendah. So don't use back the same MV and RV that you use for observation. So now your inference should be like this. Okay, inference akan menjawab kenapa observation macam itu. Okay, so for example, so when the enzyme concentration is low, that means 1% is low mah. So the rate of enzymatic reaction is low. 80 minutes is a long time. It's a long time, that means the rate of enzymatic reaction is low. So the inference, your MV and your RV will not be the same. Do not use back the same MV and RV. Okay, your MV here and your RV there, this is actually the inferred meaning. When the time taken for iodine to remain yellow is long, it means your rate of enzymatic reaction is low. Okay? Alright, clear? So your two sentences here, observation should never be the same. Your inference should never be a repeat of your observation. If it is a repeat, then you know it's something wrong. Your answer is definitely wrong. You should not be repeating your observation. Okay, next listing variables. This is easy, right? You have the three best friends, right? MV. Ask yourself, what is it that you change? You do the experiment, you do it once, you're asked to do another time, what do you change there? So if you change the concentration, then it is the MV. If you change the volume, then it's your MV. Okay, RV is what do you measure? In your experiment, what are you asked to see? What are you asked to measure or record? Okay, and lastly, constant is what is kept constant. Okay, this one you already know lah, right? This is like Form 1 also know already, so I will not go very fast, I will not go very slow. So here, back to that precautionary step, your MV is the concentration of enzyme, okay? Your RV is the time taken for the iodine solution to remain yellow. Then the CV can be any one of this, you just need to give one. Remember, don't give a string of answers. For your MV, kalau anda diberikan, nyatakan pemboleh ubah yang dimalahkan. Jangan beri lebih dari satu jawapan. Kenapa? Jangan beri lebih dari satu jawapan. Kenapa anda, RV, let's say, CV, constant variable. Sebab MV hanya ada satu jawapan. MV tak ada banyak. MV hanya satu. Tapi constant variable, kenapa anda tidak digalakkan berikan beberapa jawapan macam ini? Okay, anda tulislah volume of amylase solution. Sudah betul. Lepas tu tulis lagi. Okay, kenapa anda tidak digalakkan? Anyone? Ada soalan di sini kan?
Teacher, can ORV consider as RV ataupun ORV as answer?
Can also, ORV boleh juga diberi sebab pilihan jawapan boleh lebih dari satu. dalam skema ni orang lebih satu. So RV is correct, ORV also correct. But we would prefer you to write RV because RV is what you generally want to find out in the experiment. Okay, you measure the time taken. Yes, all right, that's your ORV. But what you and your experiment, you want to find the rate of reaction actually. Okay, your time taken is just an indication of your rate of reaction. So it's better for you to write your RV. Okay, lagi ni, kenapa jangan tulis banyak-banyak? Jangan jadi tamak. Yes, ini kan ni.
Ada
Jangan
sesiapa
ingat
boleh
banyak-banyak.
jawab.
Ingat banyak-banyak lagi banyak markah kan?
Lepas tu dia
Lagi
suruh
banyak
cikgu
markah.
pilih.
Yes. Sebab kalau you tulis banyak-banyak, andai kata kalau lah salah satu sudah salah, semua akan jadi salah. Okay, sebab maksudnya anda tak tahu mana jawapan yang betul. So kadang-kadang dia akan, skemanya mungkin berubah-ubah. Kadang-kadang dia akan ambil jawapan yang pertama saja. We call it, what they call, first attempt only, FAO lah. Ambil, itu you sama lah. Kalau belakang salah pun tak apa. Ada ambil satu saja. First one correct, most important. You must write your first one must be correct. Tapi kadang-kadang dia akan employ, dia akan dapat WCR, wrong cancel right. You ambil satu betul, the second one salah, yang salah akan batalkan yang betul. So you don't like, trying your luck. Yeah, you don't know which the answer. You give the examiner a string, go you pilih sendirilah. Okay, tak boleh lah. Maksudnya tak tahu kan. So you mesti tulis jawapan yang betul-betul you confident, beri satu sahaja. Okay ya. Ya, correct Iman ya. Correct, wrong mungkin akan cancel right. Tengok apakah prinsip yang mereka amalkan lah. Tahun tu mungkin dia skema akan berubah, kita tak tahu ya. So kita we play it safe all the time. Okay, making hypothesis. Okay, hypothesis must have the following. Again, the same thing. Alright, you must have your MV, you must have your RV. No CV ya, hypothesis no CV, but you must have a relationship between your MV and RV. Okay, sebut macam ni mesti tak faham kan? Okay, jadi jawapan contoh. So like, we have to give a format. Many of the experiments, the two variables, MV, RV, can be linked together with this kind of a sentence. When the MV increases, the RV will also increase, or the RV will decrease. Okay, apabila pemboleh ubah dimanipulasikan bertambah, then your PUB, which is your bergerak belas, akan bertambah ataupun berkurang. So this is like a format lah. Okay, anda boleh pakai untuk kebanyakan, tapi bukan semua ya. The higher the MV, you can write another way. The higher the MV, the higher or the lower the RV. This is like a format. Okay, you just fit in. Put your MV there, put your RV there. Okay, remember this method of writing this answer. Okay, so let me look at some answers now. Alright, example. Previous questions lah. Okay, the higher the concentration of glucose. So you see the color code here. Blue is MV, red is RV. The RS, which is called relationship, is the one in green. So the higher, you must link the two together. Okay, the higher the concentration of glucose, the higher the blah 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 blah, which is the RV. Okay, so BM tengok sendirilah. Sebab nanti saya cakap nanti masa akan terlajak pula sampai pukul 11 baru habis. Okay, the higher the temperature, the higher the rate of lipase reaction. Of course, this is until the optimum temperature lah. When you talk about enzyme, dia lepas 37, 40 maksimum, lepas itu dia akan menurun. Okay, you cannot put in higher temperature. It will drop already. So that's why normally for experiment with involves the temperature and enzyme, you have to have a statement at the back until the optimum temperature. Okay, because after that you have a bukit the graph ada bukit. Bila sudah naik sampai 37, you jangan kata sampai the higher the temperature, that means you keep on going higher and higher. Tak betul. Dia akan turun selepas 37. So that's why for this kind of experiment, usually we put until the optimum temperature, which is at the end of the sentence. Okay, so you see the color, then you know what I'm talking about. Okay, the higher the TSA per V ratio, this is a 2019 paper. Okay, the shorter the time taken for the agar tube to remain colorless. Okay, so you mesti ada 3 ini dalam satu ayat. You dapat 3 markah. Okay, so last time the paper 3 sangat untung now. You buat satu ayat saja sudah dapat 3 markah. Very untung. Okay, Lucas graph. This is a skill you must not forget. Okay, you must not forget. And a lot of students will make mistakes here. Number 1, pay attention to the axis, the points, and the shape of the graph. Pastikan ini semua betul Sebab ini adalah 3 bahagian yang anda diberi markah. Axis, points, and the shape. Kalau markahnya 3, okay, untuk graph, biasanya 3 markah. Okay, both x and y axis must use uniform scale. Okay, jangan tiba-tiba nombor you nak jump. Okay, because you don't like, the number doesn't have, let's say your data has got 10, then 15, and then 25. Then you go and put 10, 15, 25 at the correct, jarak dia. Tak boleh. You mesti put 10, 20, 30, 40 and then you count yourself. Mana 25, mana 50. You mesti buat macam tu. Okay, next. Label. Mesti dengan title yang betul dan unit. Jangan lupa unit. Mark the origin. There's 1 year that they will penalize you if you don't put your O there. Okay, and the gradation. Gradation tu senggat. Senggat you kena mark dengan tu line dia. Jangan ambil tu kertas graf itu yang petak-petak hijau itu sebagai dia punya tanda. Dia tak ada tanda tau. You letak nombor di situ, anda mesti letak itu senggat juga. Jangan lupa senggat itu. Senggat itu penting. Okay, then you must mark the point with an X, not a dot. A dot is not accurate because the dot is very fat. You don't know where's the actual point. But with the X is the intersection between the two lines. That is the more accurate to pinpoint the point. And use a sharp pencil. Don't use a very fat one. Otherwise, your pinpointing of the dot is also not correct. Okay, gunakan pensel yang tajam. Jangan guna pen. Saya masih ada nampak murid saya pakai pen. Saya marah betul. Jangan lukis graf pakai pen. Anda boleh pass up your answer dalam pencil. Jangan ingat pen saja yang boleh. You will make mistake. Definitely you will make mistake. Okay, and you cannot rub with using your eraser for the pen. Please write your graph. Sometimes your graph you sambung garisan tu tak cukup licin. You padam dengan eraser, lukis lagi sekali. Kalau sudah pen, sudah habis you berapa kertas you nak minta daripada itu pengawas. Okay, you mesti buat cantik-cantik. Garisan graf jangan dilanjutkan. Do not extrapolate. What does that mean? Bila you ada 2 point, nanti saya tunjuk ada 2 point, jangan pergi lanjut ke kanan, lepas tu lanjut ke kiri. Okay? For your graph in biology, you don't do that. I'm not sure about your physics. Cikgu fizik boleh ke? Boleh extrapolate ke?
Fizik dia sangat suka extrapolate.
Sangat suka maksudnya betul nak mesti extrapolate.
Betul, kena extrapolate.
Okay.
Sebab dia nak graf yang besar. Dia sebenarnya kalau fizik tu dia nak ambil titik tengah. Kita ambil average.
Yes.
So boleh extrapolate. Bio tak boleh.
Bio tak boleh. Bio okay, students jangan you tinggalkan apa yang you belajar di fizik untuk guna di fizik saja. Untuk biology, semua dotted line atau plot itu, titik itu mesti disambung. Walaupun yang nampak macam dia terjauh, dia macam sudah tersasar. It already went out of your line. You have to go and join it also. Okay, that means you have to make a curved line. You cannot use the what you call the line of best fit kan? Fizik kan, betul tak? Line of best fit. You pergi satu ke kanan, satu ke kiri, you letak di tengah-tengah macam tu.
Balance.
You nak balance kanan kiri macam tak boleh. Itu untuk fizik. Bio tak boleh. You must have a smooth graph if it's a curve. Kalau obvious sangat, graph itu bukan garis lurus. If very obvious it's not straight line, don't go and force it to become a straight line. And don't go and join macam guna pembaris. You get tangga zigzag like this, wrong. And then if it's a straight line, you wajib guna pembaris. If it's very obvious, you take a ruler and then you try to look at the dots here. It can join with a straight line. Okay, please go ahead. Use a straight line and use a ruler. And look carefully, read the question. Is it bar chart they want or not? Graph and bar chart are different things. Graph means it's a line. Bar chart, you must have the tunggak tu kan. Panggil apa? Bar tu lah. Okay? The one that is graph itu yang panjang, yang macam palang itu betul-betul. Okay? And then one more thing here, if you did not draw a table, you did not have a table of data, and you straight away draw the graph, wrong, salah. Your graph, no matter how correct it is, you get 0. Okay, because the rationale here is you cannot draw a graph without the table. Okay, it's impossible. That means if a graph you came out, you must have copied from someone. You copy dari jeling-jeling tu orang di sebelah tu tengok apa. You just draw. You don't know how to draw the table, but you can draw a nice graph. Okay? Salah.
Cikgu Chong, macam saya tengok ada anak murid saya tu, agaknya dia buat, lepas tu dia tulis, dia tak terus masuk dalam table. Jadi jangan buat silap macam ni. Dia tak terus masuk ke dalam table, dia tulis, okay, ni 20 cm, ni berapa bacaan. Dia guna pensel je. Dia tak masuk dalam table, dia tulis.
Tak ada table. Ya.
Habis.
Data sudah ada. Dia masuk terus dan buat graf ya. Senang.
Dia tak buat table.
You are not scientific. You are not a scientific. You scientist mesti buat macam itu. You mesti ada table dulu. Baru you systematic, you kena buat graf. You tak boleh terus buat graf. Okay? Kosong Okay.
Saya rasa
So,
maybe dia ingat dia nak buat lepas tu kot, nak buat cantik-cantik. Tak payah, tak sempat.
tak payah cantik-cantik lah. Cuma ada jawapan sudah penting lah. Okay. So use the graph paper provided. Okay, now this is the question lah. So show the reaction of enzyme against enzyme concentration. Okay, see what you need. You need, this is the Y. If the question asks you draw a graph, you do not know which is your Y, which is your X. The first one is always the Y. Y against X. Definitely, they will not put X against Y. Okay, so the first one is your RV. So yang ini ialah RV kamu. Mesti diletakkan di paksi Y. Dan lagi satu, ini ialah di paksi Y, X, enzyme concentration. This is your MV. Okay, and then smooth graph must be curved. Look at it carefully. This is definitely a curved line. Mesti lengkung. Okay, lepas itu straight line mesti guna ruler. So sini bukan straight line lah. Okay. Uniform scale, tengok skala tu mesti 0.01. Walaupun nombor itu dalam data tak ada, you mesti cari sendiri daripada kertas graf itu. Okay, do not extrapolate. Maksud itu yang itulah. Ke kanan jangan lanjutkan. Ini, oops, pen saya. Okay, so nanti jatuh pula pen saya, sorry. Okay. Okay, so you jangan lanjutkan ke kanan, jangan lanjutkan ke kiri. Don't go and busybody, want to panjang bagi cantik. And don't go and put to zero macam ini. Ini saya buat silap jangan pakai ini Jangan go and buat curve macam ni cantik-cantik. Ini akan jadi salah. Okay, next one. So these are the three things that they're looking for. Okay, whenever you draw a graph. Okay, relationship. Nah ini belum lagi keluar lah Relationship, tengok lepas draw a graph, you tengok the relationship. You must state the relationship. Is it positive gradient? If it's a positive gradient, that means the higher the MV, then the higher the RV. Okay? And also, depending on the marks, kalau dia nak 3 markah soalan ini, then you mesti ada beri 1 relationship dan 2 explanation. Okay? So you refer to the graph, terangkan the relationship. Why you get this kind of relationship? Why you get this kind of graph? Why the MV increases, the RV must also increase. Then this one you must talk about theory. Go back to the theory. Okay, so like this. Relationship, 1 mark is your relationship. For example, later I'll give you. Now, for example, just now the enzyme substrate complex. Okay, enzyme and substrate, the starch and enzyme. Okay. Example answer. So the higher the enzyme concentration, the higher the rate of enzymatic reaction. Okay, that's already 1 mark. Relationship is correct because you get positive graph. Okay, then what is the reason? When you have a higher enzyme concentration, then why the enzyme reaction is higher? Because you will have more enzyme molecules that will collide with the substrate. Okay, you put in higher concentration of enzyme, means got more enzyme, more molecules, and when it collides more, you will have a more enzyme substrate complex that can be formed. Okay, so this is what is needed. So this 2 is actually from theory. This one is not from your experiment. This is theory. So you need some theory to answer questions as well, not just to to do the answering of the drawing the graph and all that. You will be asked based on theory to explain certain things. Okay, defining operationally. This is soalan yang paling susah lah. Belum pernah, tahun lepas tak keluar lagi. Okay, soalan ini defining operationally. Kalau dia keluar, anda perlu ingat benda ini saja. 3 important ideas. You ask what based on the experiment. Based on it, always based on experiment. Based on experiment, comma, define X operationally. What is X? Define operationally. Okay, define what is X. For example, X can be diffusion, X can be rate of photosynthesis, X can be a rate of enzyme reaction. Okay, 3 important ideas. Number 1, what is X? Based on this experiment. What is the experiment that shows the X in this experiment? Okay, later, you don't understand this. Never mind, I just give you the principle. Number 2, how is X measured in this experiment? That means you must mention the RV. How do you measure the X? Okay, then what affects the X? Mention the MV. Apakah faktor yang akan mempengaruhi X itu? Okay, what is the X? I'll give you an example lah. Senang sikit kalau ada contoh kan. Okay, example. Look at example number 1. Rate of diffusion. Kita kata, what is the rate? Define operationally. Based on this experiment, define operationally what is rate of diffusion. Okay, so you must start your answer like this. Rate of diffusion is, first sentence, what is it? It is a movement of hydrochloric acid into agar cube per time. Now, this is 2019 question. Okay, in that experiment you use the agar, okay, agar cube, and also you soak it into I think you soak it into a hydrochloric acid, and the hydrochloric acid went inside, and it turned your agar cube pink color. Okay, so that is what happened. So that is your rate of diffusion. Okay, but it's not finished yet. This is what happened. But how did you measure it? Was it defined? It's determined by the time taken for agar cube to become colorless. This is what you measure, the time taken. Okay, this is your RV. According to the experiment, don't give a general definition. Like you say, rate of diffusion is the rate whereby a molecule moves from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. You will get 0 because that is not defining operationally. Itu bukan berdasarkan eksperimen. Jawapan ini mesti berdasarkan eksperimen yang anda telah buat. Okay, rate of diffusion is affected. The third sentence is you mesti cakap benda ini akan dipengaruhi oleh apa. Okay, affected by the ratio of the TSA per V ratio. Okay, this is the English first. I show all the English first, after I show the BM. Okay, second one, transpiration. Based on this experiment, what is the meaning of transpiration? So this is an experiment where you have a balsam plant, all right, you put into the photometer, and then you let the water transpiration happen, the water evaporate from the leaves. That is the experiment lah. So you must say balsam plant. Jangan pakai general, plant sahaja. Cannot. You have to refer back to the experiment, what was used. If it's orchid, you put orchid. If it's hydrilla, you must say hydrilla. Okay, that is determined by how do you measure the loss of water? How do you measure the loss of water? It's determined by the change in the mass of photometer in 30 minutes. So this was in the experiment. You have to measure the mass of photometer. Okay, and then the last sentence, transpiration is affected by the MV. So 1, 2, 3 marks. Okay, one more example. Diffusion, not just rate, just diffusion. Diffusion is a process of water molecules moving out of the whisking tubing into the sucrose solution in the beaker. This is 2018 question. Okay, so this one, you must mention the sucrose solution. You must mention the whisking tubing because it's a specific thing that was used in this experiment. Jangan sebut. Diffusion is a process of a molecule, a solid moving from a region of higher concentration into a region of low concentration. No. Okay, it is determined by what? How do you know that it is diffused already? Because the distance distilled water move from X to Y. This is according to experiment, right? In the capillary tube, and it's influenced by the concentration of sucrose. Okay, so ini bahagian BM. So if Wi-Fi is too fast, nanti you boleh replay video ini, then you pause kan, you boleh salin. Okay, anda boleh salin, and you can just copy down for the reference. So I just show you this one. Alright, okay, because your time is running short. Kita nak laju sikit kan, Cikgu? Kan? Betul tak, Cikgu Lani? Berapa minit kita ada?
Lagi 2 minit.
Okay, cepat-cepat. Okay, last kali, sudah last predicting, buat ramalan. Ini selalu keluar, tahun lepas sudah keluar. Setiap tahun mungkin akan keluar, jangan lupa. Okay, must state the correct prediction. You mesti cakap ramalan itu, dia akan macam mana? Dia akan jadi, data itu akan menjadi lebih banyak atau lebih tinggi atau lebih rendah. And then followed by explain. You must have 1 or 2 explanation depending on the marks. Kalau markanya 2 saja, you perlu 1 prediction dan 1 explanation. Kalau markanya 3, you need 1 prediction and 2 explanation. So jumlah 3. Okay, so prediction with the correct unit, mesti ada unit betul. Then you explain. E is the explanation based on the theory. Ini pun masuk theory. Balik semula kepada theory. Kenapa akan jadi begitu? Okay, prediction must be stated. Mesti ada prediction. Tak ada prediction, you terus bagi explanation saja, kosong. Okay, no marks. Okay, so example. Here. Why the volume, let's say your vitamin, the juice of the fruit, you go and boil it first. And then you do the experiment. You want to test your DCPI, you want to test your percentage of your percentage of vitamin C. Okay, so what happens if you boil the juice first? So the volume of juice needed to decolorized DCPIP will increase or become higher than your original value. So you can tulis the value, jangan lupa unit. Okay, because explanation, heat destroys or denatures vitamin C. That's why you have to mention the theory behind it. Ini eksperimen tak ada cakap. experiment, this is from your, you must use the word denature. Heat denatures vitamin C. So what's another point to say? You already mentioned that. Talk about the concentration. The concentration of vitamin C in the juice decreases. Okay, this is if they want the prediction, any prediction. But if they want you to write what is the concentration, what happens to the concentration, you have to menjawab terus kepada soalan. The concentration of vitamin C in the juice decreases or become lower than the original figure, which we did earlier, because, again, same theory, the suhu high heat will actually destroy or denature vitamin C. And then now you already mentioned concentration, don't repeat concentration. So the volume needed to decolorize will increase. Okay, because the concentration is less, you need more. You need more of the juice to decolorize the DCPIP. Okay, so itu dia example. Okay, this is predict the outcome of this experiment. Immersing in water bath. So water bath is 965. Terlalu panas untuk enzyme. Okay, same question here. So the time taken for the iodine solution to remain yellow be longer than 30 minutes. The 30 minutes was the original, let's say. Okay, then this is your time taken. All right, and then the value must be given. This is a prediction. Explanation. So explanation, because it's 3 marks, so you need to have 2 reasons. Number 1, your rate of enzyme activity decreases or it becomes stops at 65 because it is decreases or slows down. Then because the reason the enzymes are denatured or the active sites has changed the configuration of the active site. Okay, so lastly, itu second last ini saya. Mengelas, ini soalan yang paling senang sekali. So what can you ask? What are you asked to classify? It can be, if you a list there, you classify by apparatus or material. Okay, or they can give you high rate or low rate. They give you a certain contoh lah, okay, of processes. Which one is high, which is low rate. Okay, they also ask you, give you a few examples of food classes. Which one come under carbohydrate, which one is lipid, which one is protein. That one you must know from theory lah. You put into different tables or different grouping. And then one more, whether it is MV or whether it's RV. So these are the things you ask you to classify. Okay, and type of solution, isotonic or hypotonic or hypertonic. Okay, that's what it means. Okay, now we come to the last part, the most exciting part. What do you think can come out? So I cannot tell you the question because I don't even know the question. Actually, I can't even tell you because I don't know, right? Honestly, I don't know. So what are the possible? So very simple. You can just think lah. These experiments can only be done in 40 minutes. So anything that takes too long a time, definitely you can throw it away. Okay? Tak mungkin akan keluar.
Soalan
okay?
kejap. Ada soalan Kenneth tanya, teacher, for the prediction, should we give a value or statement? Higher or lower?
Oh, you can either compare higher than the original one, or you can give a value also can. The value must be higher than the original lah. So that means let's say for example, the value will be, the time taken will be 30 minutes. As long as it's more than the original. Let's say original was 20 minutes. With 30 minutes, okay, betul. Or you can say more than 20 minutes. Pun boleh. Okay, but you must have the minutes there. Okay, you must ada satu value there. Okay, so 40 minutes only. Okay, now these are the things that can come out lah. Now number 1 is quite unlikely because you need good microscopes. Okay, I do not know how many schools will have good microscopes lah. Right, probably they have this problem lah, kekangan dari segi alat microscope. Then this one you rendam that strip, the whisking tubing, you use whisking tubing, your starch and your glucose inside outside, all this they can always change. Now please make sure, remember this experiment will not be bulat-bulat come from textbook They akan mengolah eksperimen itu. Don't expect it exactly come out from textbook. You may have done it before, but in the experiment exam here, they will change a little bit so they can really test you. Okay, but the theory, it will not run away. The theory is still the same thing. That's why dia akan menguji teori anda. Okay, so and then the kepekatan berbeza lah, the sucrosa, okay, onto the shape or the size or the mass of your potato strip or even your stem. Dia curve ke sini ke sana ke macam itu. Okay, next. This one amylase pepsin. Okay, so the temperature, usually temperature or the pH. Okay, whether you put acidic or alkaline on the pepsin. All right. Then some more investigating respiration or fermentation alcohol or by yeast also possible. Okay, because this one takes a short time only. It can allow the bubbles to come out. Okay, the carbon carbon dioxide bubbles. And then food test, they give you a few samples of food. You test which one has starch, which one has protein, which one has lipid, and so on. Energy value, they give you kacang, they give you certain type of food, dried bread, whatever, you go and burn the food. Okay. And then vitamin C, this one came out last year. I don't think it will come out again. I don't think 2 years in a row is quite unlikely, the possibility. Okay. But again, I dare not promise. So don't take my word for it. You still make sure you read. Okay. Then estimating population size. They won't give you actual insects. They won't give you siput. They give you the kacang. They give you kacang, biji-biji kacang. They put inside a paldi there. Then they put in the sawdust or they put in the sand. As you're going to scoop up and count the beans. The bean represent the insect or represent the animal. Or they give you the quadrat, the plastic, right? You draw squares and then you tekap. You put onto a map. And the map here has got different plants there, or a field, right? It's a map of a field. Then you put your quadrant there and then you count. Put a few places. Then you count and put in the table. Then they ask you the frequency, ask you the density, okay? And the other one is density, the frequency, and one more the population, I think. Yeah. So you do the calculation. Okay, studying continuous and discontinuous variation. So they give you a picture of the types of years. Okay, one is attached. How many in the classroom there got 40 people. So how many got attached? How many got this one free earlobe and so on, or the ibu jari, the bentuk ibu jari pun boleh. Ini semua is simulasi. Okay, bukan betul-betul pergi cari orang. Okay, they give you picture ni. Alright, okay, so I think that is my class for today. Alright, I hope I've given you some pointers. Don't ask me the question because I really do not know the question. So I'm trying to guide you by the technique. I think this is the safest bet. Knowing how to answer, if you know the technique, you can answer any questions. Alright, okay. So balik saya serah semula. Terima kasih banyak-banyak. Saya serah semula kepada Cikgu Ilani.
Okey, terima kasih Cikgu Chong atas perkongsian yang cukup menarik dan informatif pada malam ni. Okey, jadi Cikgu tak boleh lama-lama. Okey, tahniah diucapkan pada semua yang setia bersama dengan kelas biologi pada malam ni dari awal hingga saat ini. Okey, sebagai tanda penghargaan, sebagai tanda terima kasih. Okey, jangan lupa kita tekan subscribe. Okey, tekan butang merah pada channel Cikgu Chong. Okey. Tekan butang loceng. Kalau sudah berbuat demikian, okey, boleh type. Siapa yang tak pernah lagi, okey, telah done sebagai tanda terima kasih. Okey. Orang berbudi kita berbahasa. So berbahasa awak lah secara subscribe subscribe. Okey, jadi link sijil telah di-paste pada ruangan chat. Okey, sila ambil perhatian, link itu dapat diisi hingga dari jam 10.30 ni sampai 11 malam sahaja. Selepas dan tamat pada jam 11 malam, username Cikgu Chong juga dah diberikan, saya lihat t.me tu. Okey, jadi diingatkan nanti awak nak periksa boleh tonton semula. Okey, boleh tonton semula melalui link Cikgu Chong ni. Okey, ataupun link yang disediakan di portal AYU. So layari Akademi YouTuber untuk mendapatkan jadual tuition percuma. Okey, jadi sesungguhnya last words, okey. Akademi YouTuber bermula percuma, selamanya percuma. Sekian sahaja untuk malam ini. Okey, nanti kita jumpa lagi. All the best peperiksaan 31 hari bulan nanti. Okey, itu sahaja. Bye.
Dibawakan kepada anda oleh Akademi YouTuber.